What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be looking at the best players in each position. So I'm going to go with a very balanced formation here, and again we may choose to do different ones. So if you want to know any different formations, you want to see what I personally think is the best player per position in a different one, left wings, right wings, obviously we are going to be looking to set them up in game. I play in game as a 4-4-2, and that is how I'm going to structure this kind of team as such. We're going to be looking at FUTBIN and obviously through the team as well. If you're looking for coins, coaching, boosting service, head over to skycoach.gg, go into your order now, make sure that you hit the promotional code, type in JT and get yourself 10% off any services on skycoach.gg. There is only one goalkeeper that we're going to be choosing in this, and personally I don't actually have him yet because I've not really wanted to spend the coins on him, but that man is going to be big boy Van der Sar. He is just so clear, an incredible keeper in this game. And also with these positions, just as a side note, we will look at maybe one or two options, maybe a handful, maybe not putting them fully in, but we'll look at least two players that you can go with. Try and maybe go for an expensive and a cheaper option in each position as well. So with Van der Sar, he's coming in, if we have a look at FUTBIN, in fact, he is coming in at a whopping Van der Sar, let's have a look, 463,000 coins still. Base version's 240, so you can already see the value of a keeper is absolutely crazy. So he was always going to be number one. If I'm looking at a second, and I'd probably go for more of a goalkeeper in this one, we are looking, because really icons, it's Van der Sar or nothing. I think Courtois is definitely got to be the second one. I would personally say Alisson and Ederson have done very, very well for me. Plus Donnarumma every now and then has had his moments, but I think for me these two keepers are definitely on the topper end. Personally, I've seen them a lot more recently, especially Courtois. Normally it was kind of a bit of random. It was informed trap, it was Ederson, who personally I have. Neuer was kind of in a couple, nothing too crazy, and inform Donnarumma, preferably red as well, which I do actually have, so it must be that everybody got him. In terms of right back then, if we're looking at right back, for me, the one that I have played with now in the other version, which is his World Cup, is Kyle Walker. Is incredible, and some people may not like him. I think the pace on him, the recovery and the defending is absolutely elite with him. Absolutely elite. He was absolutely brilliant. I don't know how many times I can say absolutely, but we'll say it one more time. In terms of right backs in general, I think his what is that a path to glory? That is just nuts. If we do manage to get through the next round, I'm not hopeful, but you never know. I think that card genuinely could be absolutely stupid. Dani Alves is coming in as a newer one in the World Cup stories. Again, looking really nice, but unfortunately, the links are just not going to be an all-round good card, and that's sometimes the best bit about them. With these cards, you've got to make sure that they're effective in every single way. Have they got a club for the links? If you can, if you want links, personally, I like to have as much chemistry as possible. Not necessarily always needed, but it's always nice to have that extra bonus. As well as icons this year, just not having any sort of factor or use really, other than linking to themselves. Yes, they get a nation boost, but no league boost is a bit of an L, to be honest. But if I'm looking at right backs, who I'm thinking, you know what, who have I seen the most? Let me just double check before I go into right wing back. And the big thing this year is the fact that we do have secondary positions. So obviously we can go from centre back to right back, or even left back to right back, as of Cancelo. But if we're looking at a factory set in right back, it probably has got to be a path to glory Walker as the most expensive. And again, you can never count out Cafu. I would say obviously Cafu is going to be the more expensive. Him again coming in at a whopping, is he even out? Hold on, is he even in this game? I'm pretty sure he's got a World Cup, I want to say, or is it extinct? Oh, of course. I was thinking that. I was like, there's no way he's extinct. He's a token. Of course he is. So that makes sense. So yeah, so he's a token. He is 30 tokens if you want to get him done. Again, he is absolutely quality. We will see the likes of Cafu and also Alberto in their prime versions very, very soon. And they are normally pretty top end. Then we go on to the centre-backs. Some big centre-backs this year. Personally, number one as gold has got to be Virgil. You cannot get much better. Genuinely, such a good player in this game. He has played far too many games for me and has done absolutely stunning. So if we are looking at a partner with him, again, only really one option. Maldini is next level. We'll actually put Virgil down here a second, just so I can have a look through a couple more. Bobby Moore I've actually been seeing a lot more, which is very weird. And I think really the other one, if I'm going for more expensive, has got to be Lucio. Maldini-Lucio partnership would be a joke, an absolute joke. He is in so many people's teams. I feel like I'm missing out on not getting him because he just genuinely is so good at the game. Price-wise, yeah, there's not even many pages of him. 1.4 mil. Obviously, you can't pack him anymore unless we get a World Cup Heroes SBC again. But again, an absolute joke. And even in his normal hero version, again, very, very top end if we can find it. I think he's still relatively expensive. This version can be packed still. Obviously, it is only a +1, so you're not missing out massively in there. And if I'm looking through other centre-backs that we're kind of looking at here, we have got a couple more options. Maldini's left-back can play as centre-back. And you have got someone like Kohler, like Puyol. They are not necessarily completely unusable. They're not got the greatest of pace, but definitely in terms of defensive ability are very, very top end. Then we look at someone like Blanc. We've got a prime Desai coming. Cannavaro's still very good at the game. And then you go a bit further down to your Scream PKs. Obviously, he is a rule breakers, I want to say. I cannot remember. Yeah, he was a rule breakers. I knew it. Rule breakers, and obviously then we keep going further down. We look at the Rudiger, again, another top end centre back. So left backs have actually got a few different players this year. Honestly, some really, really nice ones. We do have a Roberto Carlos, and again, a very, very top player. He is actually, if I show you on Footbin, because some of these, I don't know if he is specifically one of them, but there is some, if I can find him here, that are very, very similar to their prime. So as we see there for Roberto Carlos, I don't know if we can zoom in a little bit. That might be a little bit better for you. So if we look at the difference between the 90, which is out now at 964, we then have the mid, which is literally -1s, some even not even going up. That's coming in at how much? 0, apparently. 635, and then we look at the difference between this World Cup icon and the prime. You are literally looking at +1s across the board. That is absolutely crazy that we've already got another card that is almost like a branch to the prime. Some of the World Cup icons have like 2 upgrades, and that's it. We saw it with, I want to say it was Baggio, but I cannot remember. There's like one where it's just literally +1 on, say, shooting and +1 on defending. There is no other difference, and yet it's a 2 overall upgrade on that prime. Don't ask me how. Roberto Carlos has probably got to come in as one of the better ones, but I will say this year, if we go back to the screen, Capdevila is a joke, an absolute joke. He is just absolutely nuts in terms of this card. I think in general, one of the best left backs you can get. If he was in the lengthy meta, then you'd be absolutely just lapping it up. Unfortunately, we have changed from that, but he still is a high-end left back. But in terms of golds, if we're looking at the cheaper option for a left back, there's probably only one man that everybody would absolutely love to have, and genuinely is just an absolute joke of how good he is for such a low rating. We are obviously going as far down as a Ferland Mendy. He, again, is just another brilliant card this year. A 4-star, 5-star, coming in with all the stats that you need. You whack a little shadow, anchor, whatever you need for him. And again, a very, very top-end left back. He was, or I believe he still is actually, lengthy with, I want to say Architect, because that would be very weird that I have put that on there. Obviously, we do have a left back 84 for the time being. Yeah, Architect makes him lengthy, so we would change that now. If we look down, Architect is what everybody's voting for. But again, that was at the start of the game. You would now look at probably, okay, I was going to say, I was like, he doesn't have reset that. So let's have a look at Anchor. Anchor with a 90 physical, 84 defending, 96 pace, Shadow 86 defending, you'd probably go Shadow or Anchor. I think both of them would still be incredible to use. But in general, Mendy is just a joke. And I think the only other one that kind of really rivals him, and that is going to be our man Theo. He is just, again, another very, very good left back. There is obviously a few in Alphonso Davies, and I think that's probably about it, actually. I'd say there's a few more. We obviously have the red Theo, so I've not really needed to go anymore. Roberto Carlos Cancelo, I suppose, is another cracking one. He was the gold card that was in my team for a while. Now, we do have his inform, but I am preferring Theo personally. Ashley Cole is on the second account, which, again, isn't awful, but he's definitely not of the level of a Capdevia, Theo, or Mendy. So, I'm interested. We'll go centre mids first, because the left and right mid are an interesting pair. In terms of centre mid, if we're looking at the best of the best of the best, there is only a couple of names that you can go for in terms of these. One of them is going to be, I think he's actually a forward. Wherever he is. No, he's not there. Where's Hullet? We know he's here. Where is Hullet? There he is, 90. Of course he is. I was thinking, there's no way that he's under 91. 90 Hullet is obviously going to be number one. If we're looking at number two, as a pairing, because I personally like to pair my two kind of midfielders to almost, not necessarily kind of be too similar, but I want them to contribute together and really kind of add the flavour. So obviously with both of these, they are the natural pairing that everybody goes for. Vieira, unfortunately, is a Cups token, so if you've got Carfu, I don't think you can get Vieira as well. But in general, if you can, if we're just speaking out of the realms of not possible, even if you just went for the mid or prime Carfu and got Vieira instead, or vice versa, Vieira and Hullet have always been a pairing together that is just an absolute joke. One is 6'3", one is 6'4". Obviously, with Hullet, he is more of your attacking side, and Vieira is more of the defensive side. But what they both have together is just height, strength, and just bully. They are absolutely bullies, and they genuinely are most expensive, most everything. But them two, for me, would be my top two pairings. If we are looking at other midfielders, obviously we saw Zidane there. Because I don't play Cam, Zidane still would fit in that mid, but it would be taking out Hullet rather than Vieira, because I'd like to have one that's more defensive and one that's more attacking, as I know then I have kind of like a safety net for the player. But in terms of these two, as we can see, if we go, midfielders, Zidane's obviously one of them in his World Cup version, mid or prime, either or. If we wanted to kind of replace Vieira, Matthias would be a great shout, most definitely. Ronaldinho would be more left wing / striker. If we're looking at other centre mids, we would probably go... It's not really anybody that would take out obviously they wouldn't take out Vieira or Hullet. Yaya Toure would actually be one that's really close to doing that. And I would say, if I went with Shadow, I'm interested actually. If I went with Shadow, would Yaya be the one? Because I think that defending would go up massively. Obviously, this card is coming in at 2.4 mil. Shadow is got 90.89. So you could argue I could do both. Like, I could definitely get rid of Hullet for Yaya or Vieira. I think both of them would work and switch quite well. So again, another cracking card there. Balak's not terrible, but not of that level. And I think that would probably be the only kind of switch-ins that I'd go with. In terms of cheap beasts that I've enjoyed, if we're looking at maybe lower rating, I'm thinking, because personally what I use is going to be that pairing of Tchouaméni and Kessie. So they are, again, both very, very top-end players. Both of them have played an incredible amount of matches, starting at 82 for Touche, and I don't know what Kessie was. I think he was 84. So both had the upgrades up to 86. And again, both tall, got good physicals. One's got really good, both of them, to be fair, are very similar. So I am looking to maybe change them. I think in terms of mids as well, De Jong has been absolutely fantastic whenever I've played with him. Even Calvin Phillips having a little shout. But in terms of lower, cheaper prices, I think Bruno Gomes gets a shout in there. And if I'm looking at golds, Kante just isn't it this year, which is so frustrating because he is just a beautiful, beautiful card. If I'm looking at thinking, which gold would go in my team in terms of centre mid, De Jong obviously has the shout. Fabinho is just not that pacey. I think Goretzka definitely started really well this year. There's definitely, for me, not a standout centre mid in terms of gold. I think you'd be looking probably at somebody like a Valverde, Kessie, Tonale. Llorente was playing right back for some reason, just because I think of lengthy. But I think in golds, I don't think there's really one that stands out as incredible. I'd probably have to be looking at somebody like a Goretzka, just because they've got that bit of pace, bit of physical, and the defending. And then obviously De Jong has got a better version. We'll click De Jong for this one. I think both of them actually quite similar in terms of what they've got, but a nice two pairing that you can go with as well. So we move on to the right mid. So I am a little bit different with a balanced 4-4-2. Is personally, if I was kind of like setting up this team, I'd obviously have these four at the back right now. Vieira would drop kind of in the center here. Hullet would float up and down as we kind of drag the ball with him. The left and right mids would be very attacking. They're not necessarily come back and defend. They are hit the wings and get the ball to them. So obviously in terms of right mids, we have got again a very vast selection of obviously all of the players right now. But in terms of right wing, which I believe is where everybody will stay, you're looking at your Messis, you're looking at your Salas. Even Bale was absolutely incredible to use. Got a review on the channel for him if you want to have a look at how good he is. I think in terms of the best right wing, you'd argue Messi, but I'm definitely seeing a bit of Jairzinho in there. I think definitely he can't be argued with at times. I think Messi's pace does let him down a little bit. But the thing that really kind of goes for Messi's sake for me is going to be that flashback. The flashback is just next level. I don't actually know. I think he starts at right mid. Am I got this wrong? What rating is he? Hold on, let's just type him in because we know we can see him. I'm pretty sure he's 86 or 87. 87. Oh, it is right wing. So Messi's flashback is an incredible card. I think for me, he is one of the better ones in terms of flashback. Like we saw with Neymar last year or the year before. We saw a CR7, I think, at one point. Again, a very good card. Would I say he's the best right mid? I probably would have to go for, again, another icon in terms of someone like a Jairzinho if you are playing how I personally play with them. Because I don't need defending, I personally would have him absolutely bombing up, using it almost as a 5 at the back, 1 in the midfield, and 4 at the attack, with the wingers that do come back, but definitely not in the defensive style. So it means you've kind of got a 5-1-4. That for me works really well. Obviously with Vieira, I try not to overdo him really, and I'll use Hullet, who does come back as well. He will act as that 6th defender, so I don't really need any of the wingers to come back. So for me, that would be my 2 right mids. Then we go on to the left mids. So left mids, obviously, we've got number 1 in shout. Ginola is just beautiful. He's a beautiful player. And I think I personally would always rate him as a striker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put him on the bench a second because he, for me, is a striker. I don't play him left mid. I would never play him left mid. If I got him in the team, he would definitely be a striker. If I'm looking at left wings, I think, again, there is a few. Sonny Boy is always good. And I think this has got to be one of 2 choices. You either go with a Neymar as the gold version, which I think, again, is very good for the price that you're going to pay. If we look at the difference between a Neymar, which is coming in at a whopping 219, or I've went for the wrong shout. Just click on Brazil. If we go for a Vini, which is again a left wing, you are looking at 45,000 coins. For what you're paying, that is a very effective card and will do absolutely all the business. We personally play a Sterling there at 88 or Terrier, again another brilliant left mid that you can get. But I think Neymar or Vini would be my gold shouts. Then obviously we do go up a little bit and you can see we do have a Path to Glory Vini who can still go up 3 million coins. If they win today, he will go up to a 90 rated. Incredible, I know. So I think, depending on how this World Cup ends, Vini would be my 100% shout. For right now, without no upgrades, I think it's got to be Ribery. Ribery, SBC, and Avera is a beautiful card. as we can see here, I've got to get used to changing that. 5-star, 5-star, was coming in at about 600,000 coins. He is just an absolute machine going forward. Or in fact, there is one player that I've just completely missed over, and I'm just going to throw him in because it is him. Obviously, he gets his prime soon, which is a 93 or 94 left wing. Ronaldinho is always going to be elite in any sort of game. And that brings us on to the big boy strikers. So I think it's quite easy to kind of go with the number 1 spot. It's got to be R9. There is no difference with any version of him, from mid to World Cup icon to prime. He is absolutely elite of all elite. We're looking at the card here. We've got the right one on. As you see, the prime is only a little bit better than the 95. You've got the nice dynamic with the 95 as well. Still coming in at 9.3. His mid now has dropped to 7 mil. Base not quite as effective, but definitely still up there at 1.7. He is always going to be number 1 striker. I don't care what game mode you go on. R9 is absolute king. If we're then looking at the second, I think, again, you've still got arguments because Mbappe is obviously going to be my choice, but you never count out a Pele, you never count out a Eusebio, a Cruyff. These are the elite of the elite strikers. They come in at such a price that is absolutely crazy. But in terms of striker on this game, I think Mbappe is just, again, a clear winner in this. His pace, his everything is just nuts. He's coming in at, if we can find the card, it's Road to World Cup. Wow, 4.7 million coins. That is next level. So if we look at the strikers on FUTBIN, in terms of these top end cards, if we go centre forward, if we can, centre forward and striker, and we look from price, we've obviously got the 2 R9s to begin with. We then have a Pele at 5.8. We then have Mbappe at 4.7. We then go down a little bit. You've got 3.8 and 3.5 for your Cruyff and Eusebio. And then as we go down further and further, we get other versions of Eusebio and Cruyff. We get a cheeky Eto'o in there, who is there just purely for the fact he's very hard to pack. But in terms of the kind of gold strikers, I think Mbappe's normal card is always going to be brilliant. That is coming in, according to FUTBIN, at 1.06 mil, which again, for a gold card isn't bad. In terms of Mbappe, he probably was about 2 mil at the start. If then we go a bit further down, we're then looking at a lovely, lovely card in Rashford. In fact, I want concepts, not this. It's much easier to find him. He is obviously a left wing at the moment, but again, a very, very top-end striker that you can get. Probably a little bit heavier priced in terms of what you're looking for, but the Rashford here is, again, amongst the best. 5-star, 4-star, great pace, great shooting, got the traits, naturally is a very, very good card. But you're probably thinking, who's the cheaper options? Because all of these are millions upon millions of coins, which unfortunately the top of the top will cost you a pretty penny, hence why FIFA points are just absolutely ridiculous this year. But if we're looking at the cheaper of the cheap, if we're going a bit further down, personally a lot of icons are a little bit cheaper this year, but if your budget is say between 100 to 200k, I'd personally CR7, definitely never a bad shout in terms of gold, 87,000 coins. Haaland always is a nice choice as well. You then go a bit further up in terms of the rankings, would see Morientes is SBC. I've been seeing that quite a lot, to be honest. If then we go a bit further up, Voller at 250, again, solid. We look at BD Pele at 288, and then we look at, say, Butra and Del P at 300. Some really, really nice strikers that you can get, but unfortunately, there is a cap now. The pricing is going up and up and up for the better strikers, so you are just hoping that you do get lucky and pack one untradeable. If we're looking at complete gold cards on the console, like I say, Mbappe is going to be number 1. CR7's not bad. Haaland's not bad. We go Aubameyang, we go Ben Yedder. If you're looking at the really cheap, but personally, you're going to have some big hitters right now, especially in that striker role. It's just going to be needed at this point. If we look at the club of who I've got, Lewandowski was purely for a video, so that personally doesn't count, but he was an expensive SBC. We look at Mbappe, who was very, very fortunate to get very early on untradeable, so I could not be happier and luckier for that. We then have our Brolin, 2 versions of him from our pre-order packs, which is just, it just is what it is. We then go further back with Vlahovic. Barkley's never been a bad shout. Arnautovic was free. Richarlison was an objective. So there is some players that you could have got very, very cheaply early on, and they'd still do somewhat of a level now, but definitely you're going to be having to look at the big boy players. And that is going to be what concludes today. So let me know down below if you think anybody else deserves a shout in that. All the comments down below I will try and read and get through with any responses to what you think. But let me know if you want to see a different formation. Would be an incredible team that honestly would be an absolute next joke of price. You're looking at least, well, you're looking at what, 10 mil pretty much between the two here. 10, say 14. The values of obviously these two would just label as say 2 mil each, or a 2 mil and a mil. You're looking at probably about just shy of a 30 mil, maybe 27 to 30 mil team right here. Absolutely incredible. So let me know down below what you think. Make sure you do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all for the next one.